The world blurs at the edges, a watercolor painting left out in the storm. That's what I remember most about that night. Not the scream of metal, but the way the streetlights wept long, golden tears down the slick, black asphalt. My nursing textbooks feel like lead bricks in my tote bag, their corners digging into my hip with every hurried step. Another 12-hour shift at the diner. Another night of smiling until my face ached and refilling coffee cups for hands that never once looked up to see me. All for a handful of crumpled bills that would barely touch the mountain of debt my parents left behind. The house, their house, our house, is the only thing left, and the bank's letters are starting to feel less like warnings and more like countdowns. So I run. I run from the clatter of plates, from the smell of stale grease, from the ghost of my father's laugh in the empty living room. I run through the rain, my thin jacket a useless shield against the October chill that seeps into my bones. The city is a beast tonight, all roaring traffic and flashing neon, and I am just a mouse scurrying through its metal and glass veins, trying not to get crushed. Then, the sound. A high-pitched squeal that cuts through the drumming of the rain. It's the sound of control being lost, of physics taking over with brutal indifference. I look up just in time to see it. A black car, sleek and expensive, a panther of a machine, pirouettes on the wet road. It's almost graceful for a horrifying second, a slow-motion ballet of impending destruction. Then it hits the thick steel of a traffic light pole. The impact is a physical thing, a shockwave that I feel in the soles of my worn-out sneakers. Metal groans, folding in on itself like paper. The world glitters with a sudden terrible confetti of shattered glass. For a heartbeat, there is only silence, a held breath in the storm. Then, a flicker. An angry orange tongue of flame licks out from under the crumpled hood. I don't think. My feet are moving before my brain can protest, before it can scream at me about explosions and danger and the simple, sensible act of staying away. My textbooks fall from my bag, forgotten on the wet pavement. My own exhaustion, my own problems, they all just evaporate. There is only the car, the rain, and the growing fire. The driver's side door is jammed, bent into a wicked smile. I pull, my fingers slipping on the wet handle, my muscles screaming in protest. It won't budge. Panic, cold and sharp, stabs at my throat. I can feel the heat from the engine now. A dry, hungry thing. I peer through the spider-webbed window. A man is slumped over the steering wheel, a dark stain spreading through his light hair at the temple. "Hey!" I shout, my voice thin against the storm. "Can you hear me?" No response. His chest barely moves. I circle the car, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The passenger door gives with a pained shriek of metal. I crawl inside, the smell of gasoline and something acrid, like burnt wires, filling my lungs. Shards of glass crunch under my knees. I reach over, my hands shaking so badly I can barely unbuckle his seatbelt. He's heavy, a dead weight. I hook my arms under his, my nursing training a faint, steady voice in the back of my mind. Protect the neck. Check for breathing. I drag him, backwards, out of the car, away from the hungry flames that are now climbing the windshield. He's all hard muscle and the surprising weight of unconsciousness. I pull him across the slick pavement, the rain plastering his ridiculously expensive suit to his body, plastering my cheap scrubs to mine. We are 20 feet away when the car gives a great, whooshing sigh, and the fire consumes the interior. Sirens are screaming in the distance, getting closer. I collapse beside him on the curb, gasping for air, the adrenaline leaving me hollow and trembling. I press 2 fingers to his neck, finding a pulse. It's thready, but it's there. His head is cradled in my lap, and I'm trying to shield his face from the rain, though I don't know why. It's a stupid, instinctual gesture. Then his eyes open. They are not the dazed, confused eyes of a man who just survived a wreck. They are dark, the color of a midnight sky just before a storm breaks. And they are sharp, focused. They pin me in place, stripping away the rain and the sirens and the flashing lights that are just now rounding the corner. He looks at me, truly looks at me, and there is no gratitude there. There is only a chilling, profound calm. His lips part, and his voice is a low rumble, rough with pain but laced with something else, something dangerous. "You shouldn't have saved me," he murmurs. Then his eyes close, and the paramedics are finally there, pushing me aside. 2 days pass in a blur of unanswered questions. I give a statement to the police, a sanitized version that leaves out his bizarre last words. They call it a miracle. I call it a nightmare that follows me into my waking hours. His face, those eyes, are burned into my memory. At the diner, I keep seeing him in the corner booth, watching me. On the bus ride home, his reflection stares back at me from the dark window. I learn his name from a news report I catch on the diner's small television. Damian Rossa. The accompanying photo does him no justice. It's a corporate headshot, sterile and cold. It doesn't capture the intensity, the storm brewing in his gaze. The reporter mentions his family, the Rossa Conglomerate, a name spoken in hushed, respectful tones in this city, a name synonymous with power, with wealth, and with rumors that are never printed but always whispered. Mafia. My blood runs cold. The man I pulled from a burning car isn't just some rich businessman. He's heir to an empire built on secrets and shadows, and his words echo in my mind with terrifying new clarity. You shouldn't have saved me. On the third day, the world shifts on its axis. It happens just after dusk. I'm sitting at my small kitchen table, staring at another overdue bill, the numbers swimming before my eyes. A knock sounds at the door. Not a friendly rap, but a solid, authoritative thud that makes the whole frame vibrate. My heart leaps into my throat. No one comes to this door. Not anymore. I peer through the peephole, and my breath catches. It's him. Damian Rossa stands on my rickety porch, flanked by two men who look like they were carved from granite. He's dressed in a perfectly tailored dark gray suit, a stark contrast to my peeling paint and the dying potted fern by the door. A small, stark white bandage is taped to his temple, the only sign of the accident. He looks not like a man who just cheated death, but like death's employer, here to collect a debt. I stumble back from the door, my mind racing. Don't open it, pretend you're not home. But he knows I'm here. I can feel his certainty through the wood. He knocks again, harder this time, patient, yet demanding. With trembling fingers, I unlock the deadbolt. The door swings inward with a familiar creak. He doesn't speak. He just looks at me, his gaze sweeping over my faded t-shirt and worn jeans, over the threadbare rug in the hallway, over the water stain on the ceiling. His eyes miss nothing, and I feel a hot flush of shame. He's taking in the landscape of my poverty, of my struggle, and cataloging it all behind that placid, unreadable expression. "Miss Carter," he says finally. His voice is smoother now, without the rasp of pain, but it's just as cold. It's not a question. It's a statement. How did you find me?" I stammer, wrapping my arms around myself. A faint, humorless smile touches his lips. Finding people is what I do. He takes a step forward, forcing me to step back into my own home. He fills the space, his presence sucking all the air from the room. The two men remain on the porch, silent sentinels. We need to talk. About what? My voice is a squeak. I told the police everything. This isn't about the police. He walks past me, his expensive leather shoes silent on my worn linoleum floor. He surveys my small, cluttered living room with the air of a king inspecting a peasant's hovel. That crash was not an accident. The brake lines were severed. The room tilts. What? He turns to face me, his dark eyes pinning me again. The people who want me dead do not appreciate loose ends. They do not appreciate witnesses, and they certainly do not appreciate saviors. He takes another step closer. I can smell the faint, clean scent of his cologne, something crisp and expensive that smells like sandalwood and authority. By saving my life, Alana, you've put yours in jeopardy. You have been followed since you left the scene of the accident. He says my name, and a shiver runs down my spine. It sounds possessive on his tongue. That's insane, I whisper. But the fear coiling in my gut tells me he's telling the truth. The feeling of being watched, the shadows I thought were just my imagination. It is my reality, he states, his tone flat. And now, it is yours. What do you want from me? I demand, a spark of defiance cutting through the fear. I want to keep you alive. He stops just a foot from me. He's taller than I realized, forcing me to crane my neck to meet his gaze. You are coming with me. You will stay with me, under my protection, until this matter is resolved. I laugh. A short, hysterical burst of sound. You're crazy. I'm not going anywhere with you. This is not a request. His voice drops, losing its polished edge and becoming something harder, something forged in a place I can't even imagine. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a thick envelope, tossing it onto the table next to the pile of my red-stamped bills. That will clear your parents' medical debt and the mortgage on this house. Consider it a signing bonus. My breath hitches. Inside the envelope, I can see stacks of $100 bills. More money than I've ever seen in my life. Enough to make the threatening letters stop. Enough to let me breathe. I don't want your money, I say, my voice shaking with the effort of turning down my salvation. Everyone wants my money, he replies, his gaze unwavering. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet. But this isn't about what you want. This is about what is necessary. He gestures vaguely toward the window. My men have been watching your house for 2 days. They've also been watching the men who are watching your house. A gray sedan. A man who pretends to be reading a newspaper at the bus stop across the street. They are waiting for an opportunity. Do you really want to find out how patient they are? The blood drains from my face. It's one thing to hear a vague threat. It's another to know it has a face, a car, a location. He sees the fear in my eyes, the crack in my defiance. He presses his advantage. I am offering you a gilded cage, Alana, but it is a cage that will keep you safe. The alternative is a coffin. The finality in his tone is absolute. He is not negotiating. He is informing me of a change in my circumstances. My home, the last piece of my parents, suddenly feels like a trap. The walls feel thin, the windows like gaping mouths. You have 5 minutes to pack a bag, he says, turning away from me as if the matter is settled. Essentials only. Everything else will be provided for you. I stand frozen in the middle of my living room, the world I knew crumbling around me. I look at the envelope full of blood money. I look at the man whose life I saved, a man who now owns mine. I have no choice. He made sure of that. I saved a monster, and now I have to live in his lair. My desperate act of kindness has become a life sentence. The gilded cage he spoke of is a penthouse apartment that occupies the entire top floor of a sleek, black skyscraper that pierces the clouds. The elevator opens directly into a living space so vast and empty it feels more like an art gallery than a home. One entire wall is a sheet of glass, offering a breathtaking, godlike view of the city. My city, now spread out beneath me like a map, distant and untouchable. Your room is this way, Damian says, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. He leads me down a long white hallway. The air is cool and smells faintly of ozone and lemon. There are no photographs on the walls, no clutter on the minimalist tables. The place is sterile, impersonal. It's the home of a man who doesn't live, but merely exists within its walls. The room he shows me is larger than my entire downstairs floor. It has its own wall of windows, a king-sized bed with a cloud of white pillows, and an adjoining bathroom clad in black marble. A walk-in closet stands open, and my stomach drops when I see it's already filled with clothes. Dresses, sweaters, shoes, all in my size. How? I whisper, turning to him. I am thorough, is all he says. The implication is clear. He didn't just find my address. He found out everything about me. He gestures to the room. You will be safe here. No one gets past the lobby without my authorization. The elevator has a biometric scanner. The windows are bulletproof. You will want for nothing. Except my freedom, I retort, my voice sharper than I intend. His eyes narrow, almost imperceptibly. Freedom is a luxury the living can debate. The dead have no such options. He turns to leave. Sophia will bring you dinner. She is the only other person with access to this floor. Do not try to leave. The elevator will not respond to you, and the emergency stairs are alarmed. He closes the door behind him, the click of the lock sounding like a death knell. I am a prisoner. I sink onto the edge of the ridiculously soft bed, my small, pathetic duffel bag looking absurd in the opulent room. I stare out the window at the glittering city lights. They look like stars that have fallen to earth, and I have never felt so far away from them. The days that follow bleed into one another, a monotonous cycle of luxurious confinement. I wake up when I want, eat food prepared by a ghost named Sophia, a stern, silent woman in her 60s, who appears with trays and disappears without a word, and spend my hours pacing. I explore the penthouse, every corner of it. I run my hands over the cold marble countertops, the soft leather of the sofas, the smooth, cool glass of the windows. I try to find a trace of Damian in the space, a hint of the man behind the monster, but there is nothing. No books out of place, no stray papers, no personal mementos. It is a fortress, and its master is just as impenetrable. I see him only in the evenings. He comes home late, his suit still immaculate, his expression weary but guarded. We eat dinner at opposite ends of a dining table long enough for 20. the silence between us a tangible thing, broken only by the clinking of silverware on porcelain. I try to talk to him at first, asking questions. "How long do you think this will take?" I ask one night, my voice sounding unnaturally loud in the silence. "As long as it takes," he replies, not looking up from his plate. "And what am I supposed to do? Just sit here forever?" "You are supposed to stay safe." His answers are walls, each one higher than the last. So I stop asking. We exist in a state of uneasy cohabitation, two strangers bound by a violent act. I watch him when he thinks I'm not looking. I see the tension in his shoulders as he reads through documents on a tablet, the way he rubs his temple, the very spot where he was injured when he takes a phone call, his voice a low, dangerous murmur. I start to test my boundaries in small, petty ways. I leave a book I find in his library, a surprising collection of classics bound in dark leather on the living room coffee table. The next morning, it's back on its shelf, perfectly aligned. I turn the thermostat up by a single degree. An hour later, it's back to its original, chilly setting. It's a silent war of wills, and I lose every battle. He is a man obsessed with control, and I am just another variable he is managing. One afternoon, my quiet routine is shattered. I'm in the living room, staring out at a gray, drizzling sky, when the elevator dings. My head snaps up. Damian is never home this early. Sophia has already come and gone. The doors slide open to reveal a woman. She's tall, impossibly elegant in a blood-red dress that clings to her like a second skin. Her dark hair is swept up in a sophisticated style, and diamonds glitter at her ears and throat. She surveys the room with an air of ownership, her perfectly painted lips twisting into a sneer as her eyes land on me. She looks at my simple sweater and leggings as if I am something unpleasant she's found on the bottom of her designer shoe. "So," she says, her voice a sultry purr that doesn't hide its sharp claws. "You're the stray he picked up." I stand up, my spine stiffening. "Who are you?" "I'm Isabella," she says, strolling into the room as if she owns it. "And you are in my seat." She runs a manicured finger along the back of the sofa where I was just sitting. "Damian and I have a long and complicated history. He always comes back, and he certainly doesn't dally with charity cases for long." Her words are meant to hurt, to put me in my place. And they do. I am a charity case, a stray, a problem he is managing. "I don't know what you're talking about," I say, my voice trembling slightly. "I'm only here because he's protecting you?" She finishes with a cruel laugh. "Darling, Damian doesn't protect things. He possesses them, and he gets bored with his toys very quickly." She steps closer, her perfume cloying and sweet. "A word of advice. Don't get comfortable. Once his enemies are dealt with, or once he tires of this little game, you'll be back on the street where you belong." The elevator dings again. We both turn. Damian steps out, his face like thunder. He takes in the scene in a single, sweeping glance. Isabella standing over me, her expression predatory. And me, backed against the window like a cornered animal. His focus lands on Isabella, and the temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. "What are you doing here?" His voice is lethally quiet. Isabella's predatory demeanor melts away, replaced by a seductive pout. "Damian, darling, I was worried. I heard about the accident. I came to see if you were all right." She glides toward him, placing a hand on his arm. He doesn't look at her hand. He doesn't look at her. His eyes are locked on me, and what I see in them makes my breath catch. It's not just anger. It's a cold, possessive fury. It's protective. He plucks her hand off his arm as if it were a piece of lint. "Get out," he says, his voice still dangerously low. "But Damian." Now. He doesn't raise his voice, but the single word carries the force of a physical blow. Isabella flinches. The mask of seduction falls away, revealing a flash of fear and fury. She shoots me a look of pure hatred before turning on her heel and stalking back into the elevator. The doors slide shut, leaving us in a ringing silence. Damian stands there for a long moment, his back to me, his shoulders rigid. I can see the coiled tension in his body, the effort it's taking him not to punch a hole in his perfectly white wall. "Are you all right?" he asks, his voice rough. He still hasn't turned around. "I'm fine," I whisper, though my heart is still racing. He finally turns to face me, and his expression is raw, the mask of control shattered. "She should not have been here. She will not be back." She said you possess things," I say, the words tumbling out before I can stop them. Is that what I am to you? A possession? A toy? He stalks across the room until he is standing directly in front of me, forcing me to meet his intense gaze. You are the woman I am responsible for, he bites out. You are the woman I am keeping alive. Do not listen to her venom. She knows nothing. But I saw the way she looked at him, the familiarity. I saw the way she walked into his home. She knows you, I counter, my voice gaining strength. She knows you better than I do. A muscle jumps in his jaw. She knows a version of me I no longer am, a version I have no wish to be again. His eyes search mine, and for the first time, I see something beyond the anger and control. I see a flicker of something haunted, something broken. He seems to realize he's revealed too much. He pulls back, the mask sliding back into place. Stay away from the windows for the rest of the day, he says, his tone reverting to its usual clipped command. He turns and walks toward his study without another word, leaving me alone with the ghost of his fury and 1,000 new questions. He wasn't just angry that Isabella had threatened me. He was angry that she had breached his fortress, that she had gotten close to his vulnerability, and I was beginning to realize, with a terrifying certainty, that I was it. Later that night, I can't sleep. Isabella's words, Damian's reaction, they all churn in my mind. I slip out of bed and pad silently down the long, dark hallway. A single sliver of light escapes from under the door of his study. Driven by a compulsion I don't understand, I push the door open. He's not working. He's standing by a small hidden bar I'd never noticed before, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. He's shed his suit jacket and tie, and his white shirt is unbuttoned at the collar, the sleeves rolled up to his forearms. He looks undone. He doesn't seem surprised to see me. He just watches me approach, his eyes dark and heavy in the dim light. I couldn't sleep, I say softly. He takes a long swallow from his glass. Join the club. I stop a few feet from him, hesitating. The air between us is thick with unspoken things. Why do they want to kill you? I ask, the question blunt in the quiet room. He stares down into his glass, swirling the liquid. For a moment, I think he's going to build one of his walls, shut me out with a non-answer. But then he speaks, his voice low and laced with a bitterness that seems ancient. It's not they, he says. It's him, my uncle. Marco. The name hangs in the air. This isn't a faceless enemy. This is family. He wants what my father built, Damian continues, his gaze distant, lost in a memory I can't see. He always has. He was my father's younger brother, always in his shadow, always resentful. He drains his glass and sets it down with a sharp click. My parents, they didn't die in an accident. The official story was a boating mishap. The truth is, Marco arranged it. A betrayal from within. I was 22. I inherited everything overnight, including my uncle's hatred. My hand flies to my mouth. The cold, calculated cruelty of it is staggering. This explains everything. The walls he builds, the distrust in his eyes, his obsession with control. His entire world was ripped apart by the one person he should have been able to trust. He preys on weakness, Damian says, his voice turning hard as steel. On attachments. My father's mistake was trusting his own blood. I will not make the same mistake. I keep everyone at a distance. Everyone. He finally looks at me, and the raw pain in his eyes is a physical blow. When you pulled me from that car, you didn't just save my life. You painted a target on your back. You became an attachment, a leverage point for him to use against me. Now I understand. You shouldn't have saved me. It wasn't a threat. It was a lament. He wasn't angry at me that night. He was terrified for me. That's why you've kept me here, I whisper, the pieces clicking into place. It's not just to protect me from him. It's to protect yourself from caring about what he might do to me. He doesn't confirm it, but he doesn't have to. The truth is written all over his face, in the rigid set of his jaw, in the bleakness of his eyes. I am his vulnerability, his Achilles heel, a person he has to protect not for their sake, but for his own, because the alternative is a weakness he cannot afford. Without thinking, I close the distance between us. I reach out and place my hand on his arm. His muscles tense under my touch, a whipcord of tightly controlled strength. He flinches, as if my touch burns him. Damian, I say, my voice barely audible. He looks down at my hand on his arm, then up at my face. His expression is a maelstrom of conflict. The mask is gone. All that's left is the wounded man, the boy who lost everything, staring back at me. He's the one who moves first. His hand comes up, not to push me away, but to cut my cheek. His thumb brushes against my skin, a touch so gentle it feels like a brand. His gaze drops to my lips. The world narrows to the space between us, to the scent of whiskey on his breath and the heat of his palm against my face. This is the precipice, and we are both about to fall. The storm that has been threatening all day finally breaks. A sudden, violent clap of thunder rattles the bulletproof windows, and at the exact same moment, the lights flicker and die. We are plunged into an absolute, disorienting darkness. My breath catches in my throat, a small, startled gasp. The only light is the chaotic, strobing flashes of lightning that briefly illuminate the room in stark, ghostly detail. In one flash, I see Damian's face, his eyes wide, his expression stripped bare. In the next, he is a silhouette, a dark, powerful shape against the raging sky. The penthouse's high-tech hum dies, replaced by the roar of the wind and the percussive drumming of rain against glass. The gilded cage has lost its gilding. It's just a box, high in the sky, trapping us together in the dark. Backup generator should have kicked in, he murmurs, his voice a low rumble right next to my ear. I hadn't even realized how close he'd moved. His hand is still on my cheek, a warm, solid anchor in the swirling blackness. Maybe the storm is too strong, I whisper back. My heart is hammering, not from fear of the dark, but from his proximity. The power outage has stripped away more than just the lights. It's stripped away our pretense, the carefully constructed distance between us. Another flash of lightning. I see he's looking at the gash on his own forearm, a cut from the accident that he'd dismissed, but which has reopened and is bleeding sluggishly onto the cuff of his white shirt. You're hurt, I say, my nursing instincts kicking in, overriding everything else. It's nothing. Don't be an idiot, I counter, my tone surprisingly firm. Sit down. He doesn't argue. In the strobing light, I see him lower himself onto one of the leather armchairs. I move by instinct, my hands searching in the dark, my memory of the room's layout guiding me. I find the bar, fumbling for a cloth napkin and the bottle of whiskey he was drinking. This is going to sting, I warn, kneeling in front of him. I can't see his expression, but I can feel the heat radiating from his body. I pour a little of the alcohol onto the napkin and gently, firmly, begin to clean the cut. He hisses, a sharp intake of breath, but doesn't pull away. My fingers are gentle on his skin. I'm tracing the lines of muscle on his forearm, feeling the tension coiled there. The darkness makes everything more intimate, more intense. All my senses are heightened. I can hear the soft sound of his breathing, smell the rain and his cologne and the sharp scent of the whiskey. You're good at this, he says, his voice quiet. I was in nursing school, I reply, my voice just as soft. Before all this. You can go back. When this is over. When this is over. The words hang between us. The end of this strange, terrifying chapter of my life. A return to normalcy, to struggling and loneliness. A part of me, a crazy, illogical part, feels a pang of loss at the thought. I finish cleaning the wound, tearing a strip from the napkin to create a makeshift bandage. My hands linger on his arm. Neither of us moves. The storm rages outside, a reflection of the tempest brewing between us in the dark. Alana, he says, his voice thick with an emotion I can't name. He reaches out, his hand finding my hair, his fingers tangling in the strands. He gently urges me closer. I go without resistance, my own hands coming to rest on his shoulders for balance. Our faces are inches apart. I can feel his breath on my lips. This is a mistake, he whispers, but it sounds more like a prayer than a warning. Probably, I whisper back, and then his mouth is on mine. It's not a gentle kiss. It's desperate, hungry. It's the culmination of weeks of tension, of unspoken words and stolen glances. It's freighted with all of his pain and all of my fear. His lips are firm, demanding, and I meet his intensity with my own, my fingers digging into his shoulders. He groans, a low, guttural sound, and pulls me closer, one hand moving to the small of my back, pressing me against him until there is no space left between us. This kiss is a confession. It's an admission of the magnetic pull that has existed between us from the very beginning. He isn't just my captor, and I am not just his prisoner. We are something more. Something complicated and dangerous and utterly undeniable. When we finally break apart, we are both breathless. In the intermittent flashes of lightning, I see his face, his eyes dark with a raw, unguarded desire that mirrors my own. The storm outside has broken, and so have we. The barriers are gone, washed away by the rain and the darkness. The power chooses that moment to flicker back on. The lights in the study hum to life, soft and dim, but blinding after the complete blackness. We blink at each other, exposed in the sudden light. The spell is broken, but the aftermath, the raw emotion, lingers in the air. He slowly pulls his hands away from me, and I step back, feeling a sudden chill without his touch. The mask is trying to reassert itself on his face, the cool control fighting against the vulnerable passion of the man I just kissed. But it's too late. We can't go back. We have both seen what lies beneath the surface. The days after the storm are different. The change is subtle, but profound. The silence at the dinner table is no longer heavy with tension, but with unspoken awareness. Our eyes meet more often across the long expanse of polished wood, and they hold for a second too long. He starts coming home earlier. Sometimes, he doesn't go straight to his study, but stands by the wall of windows, watching the city with me. He starts talking, not about his uncle, or the danger, but small things. He tells me about the architect who designed the building. He points out a constellation in the night sky. He asks me about my nursing studies, listening with an unnerving intensity as I talk about anatomy and patient care. He's learning me, the way I learned the layout of his apartment. One evening, he comes into the living room where I'm curled up reading one of his books. He doesn't speak, just places a small, beautifully wrapped box on the table in front of me. I look at him, questioning. "Open it," he says. Inside is a first edition of Gray's Anatomy. It's ancient, the leather cover worn smooth with time, the pages fragile and yellowed. It's a collector's item, worth a fortune. It's also the most thoughtful gift I have ever received. "Damian," I breathe, speechless. "How?" "I have my resources," he says, a ghost of a real smile touching his lips. "You mentioned you wanted to specialize in surgery. I thought it might be useful." My heart does a painful lurch. He had listened. He had remembered a throwaway comment I made days ago and sought out this treasure for me. It's not a possession. It's a gift that sees me, Alana, the nursing student, not the witness he's hiding. I'm falling for my captor. The thought is terrifying, a betrayal of every sensible instinct I have. But as I look at him, at the man who is slowly, hesitantly, letting me see past his armor, I realize it's already too late. I've already fallen. I feel safe here, in this gilded cage, not just physically safe from his enemies, but emotionally seen in a way I haven't been since my parents died. The illusion of safety, however, is a fragile thing. The call comes on a Tuesday afternoon. Damian is in a meeting, one he couldn't avoid. Sophia is in the kitchen. I'm sketching the city skyline in a notebook, a habit I've picked up to pass the time. My phone, which usually sits silent, buzzes violently against the table. It's an unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. "Hello? Is this Alana Carter?" The voice is slick, oily. It makes the hair on my arms stand up. "Who is this?" "A friend. Someone who thinks you're in a great deal of trouble." There's a pause, and then the man chuckles. It's a horrible, chilling sound. "Damian can't protect you forever. He's not as powerful as he thinks. He has weaknesses, just like his father did." My blood turns to ice. It's him, Marco. "You should stay away from things that don't concern you," I say, my voice shaking. "Oh, but you concern me, little bird," he croons. "You're in a cage, but cages can be opened, or they can be burned. I hear you have a lovely little house, a family home, full of memories. It would be a shame if something were to happen to it. A gas leak, perhaps. An electrical fire. These old houses are such a tinderbox." A wave of nausea washes over me. My house, the last piece of my parents, the thing Damian's money was supposed to protect. "Leave it alone," I hiss, my voice raw with panic. "Tell your keeper to meet me. The old shipyard, Pier 4, midnight tomorrow. He comes alone, or your precious memories go up in smoke. And don't think about telling him about this call. I'll know, and the consequences will be fiery." The line goes dead. I drop the phone as if it's on fire. My hands are shaking, my vision tunneling. He knows. He knows the one thing left in the world that I care about, the one thing that is truly mine. He's going to destroy it to get to Damian. When Damian gets home that evening, I try to act normal. I fail miserably. I can't eat. I can't sit still. I keep staring at my phone, Marco's threat echoing in my ears. Damian watches me, his eyes sharp and concerned. "What is it?" he asks, his voice low. "Nothing. I'm just tired." The lie tastes like ash in my mouth. He doesn't believe me. He walks over to me, tilting my chin up with his finger so I'm forced to meet his gaze. "Alana, do not lie to me. Not now. Not after everything." The dam breaks. Tears well in my eyes and I tell him everything. The phone call, Marco's voice, the threat against my house. I see the fury build in his face, a cold, controlled rage that is more terrifying than any shouting. "He's setting a trap," Damian says, his voice a low growl. "He knows I won't let him touch anything of yours." "Then don't go," I plead, grabbing his arm. "It's what he wants. Please, Damian. It's just a house. It's just wood and nails. It's not worth your life." He looks down at my hands on his arm, and his expression softens. He covers my hands with his own. "It's not just a house. It's yours. It's your history. And he will not use it to hurt you. This ends. Tonight." "No," I say, my panic rising. "He said tomorrow. He'll know if you go early. He thinks I am predictable. He thinks I will act out of rage, or that I will honor the request of a snake," Damian says, his eyes like chips of ice. "He underestimates me, and he underestimates you." My head snaps up. "Me? He thinks you are a frightened little bird in a cage. He doesn't know you're a hawk." A flicker of something that looks like pride flashes in his eyes. "You're not a weakness, Alana. You're my strength, and we are going to use that." He pulls me toward his study, his mind already working, formulating a plan. For the first time, he isn't shutting me out. He's pulling me in. He's not telling me to stay behind and be safe. He's asking me to stand with him. The fear is still there, a cold knot in my stomach, but something else is there too. A fierce, burning resolve. Marco threatened my past. I am not going to let him take my future. Marco is a creature of habit and arrogance, Damian explains, pacing his study while I sit, wrapped, on the edge of a chair. He believes he's 10 steps ahead of everyone. He'll have men at the shipyard tomorrow night, waiting for me, but he won't be there himself. That's not his style. He prefers to watch from a distance. He stops and points to a large framed map of the city on his wall. It's an old, antique-looking thing, but I realize it's incredibly detailed. "He'll be here," Damian says, tapping a location on the industrial waterfront, a few blocks away from Pier 4. An old, abandoned fish processing plant. It has a perfect view of the pier. He'll want a front-row seat for my demise. "How do you know that?" I ask, amazed at his certainty. "Because it's where my father used to take us as children," he says, his voice devoid of emotion. "To watch the ships come in. It was our place. Marco knows that. He's a sentimental monster. He's trying to poison my memories, to rub salt in the wound." He turns from the map, his eyes boring into mine. "His men will be focused on the pier, expecting me to walk into their trap. They won't be expecting anyone to come for him directly." "You can't go alone," I state, my heart pounding. "I won't be," he says. "I'll take my best men. But I need a diversion. Something to ensure every eye is on that pier when we make our move." His gaze is intense, questioning. He's not asking me to be a soldier. He's asking me to be a strategist. My mind races, adrenaline sharpening my thoughts. What would they be looking for? What would guarantee their attention? "A car," I say, the idea forming as I speak. "Your car, the same model as the one from the crash. They'll be expecting you. If they see that car approaching the pier, they'll assume you're in it. They'll focus all their attention there, waiting for you to get out." A slow, appreciative smile spreads across Damian's face. It transforms him, making him look younger, less burdened. A ghost from the past. It's perfect. Poetic, even. His smile fades, replaced by a look of grim determination. "But I need you safe, while we are gone." "No," I interrupt, standing up. "I'm not sitting here, waiting. I'm part of this. You said so yourself. He underestimates me. Let me be the one to drive the car." He stares at me, his expression unreadable. I expect him to refuse, to order me to stay, to lock me in this room if he has to. But then he gives a slow, deliberate nod. "All right," he says. "But you do exactly as I say. You drive to the entrance of the pier. You leave the engine running and the headlights on, aimed at the warehouse. And then you get out and you disappear into the shadows. You do not wait. You do not watch. You get away. He's trusting me. He's putting a critical part of his plan, and his life, in my hands. The weight of it is immense, but empowering. I am no longer the reactive victim. I am an active participant, making a choice to fight for our future. The hours leading up to midnight are the longest of my life. We move with a quiet, focused efficiency. Damian makes a few clipped phone calls, his voice low and commanding. Men materialize, ghosts in dark clothing, their faces grim and professional. One of them brings a car from the subterranean garage, a black sedan identical to the one I saw wrecked and burning. The keys feel heavy in my hand. Before we leave, Damian pulls me aside in the hallway. He places his hands on my shoulders, his grip firm and grounding. "Alana," he says, his voice low and urgent. "Once this is done, the deal is fulfilled. You're free. I'll give you enough money to go anywhere, to do anything. You never have to see this world, or me, again." He's offering me an out, a return to the life I had before. But the thought of it leaves me cold. The thought of a life without him, without this intensity, this connection, feels empty. "Let's just get through tonight first," I say, my voice steady. I reach up and touch the scar that is now barely visible on his temple. "Come back to me, Damian." He closes his eyes for a brief second, leaning into my touch. "Always," he whispers. He presses a hard, quick kiss to my lips, a promise and a prayer, and then he's gone, melting into the shadows with his men. The drive to the shipyards is surreal. The city is asleep, its streets empty and slick with a fine mist. I am hyper-aware of everything. The hum of the engine, the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers, the frantic beat of my own heart. I follow the route Damian mapped out for me, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I see the pier up ahead, a dark skeletal structure jutting out into the black water. A single large warehouse looms at its center. I follow Damian's instructions to the letter. I pull the car up to the chain-link fence at the entrance, positioning it so the high beams cut a swath of brilliant white light across the warehouse doors. I put the car in park, leave the engine running, and slip out the door, melting into the deep shadows of a stack of old shipping containers. My heart is in my throat. I know I'm supposed to leave, to get away, but I can't. I have to see. I have to know he's okay. I peek around the edge of the container. For a few minutes, nothing happens. Then, I see movement, figures detaching themselves from the shadows around the warehouse, their attention fixed on the empty car, its engine purring like a tethered beast. They're taking the bait. At that moment, a muffled series of pops echoes from a few blocks away, from the direction of the fish plant. It's not loud, not like gunshots in a movie. It's a series of quick, brutal sounds that are swallowed by the misty night air. My blood runs cold. The men at the pier hear it too. They hesitate, confusion turning their silhouettes rigid. A phone buzzes. One of them answers, and I can hear his panicked, shouted words even from here. "What do you mean he's here? The car is..." He doesn't get to finish. The night erupts, not with a firefight, but with a swift, silent takedown. Damian's men emerge from the darkness like specters, and the fight is over before it truly begins. It's brutally efficient. Then, silence. A profound, heavy silence that is more terrifying than the noise. I wait, my body trembling, my eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of him. An eternity passes in a few minutes. Then I see him. He walks out of the darkness from the direction of the fish plant, moving with a weary but steady stride. He's alone. He walks to the car, gets in, and slowly drives it toward my hiding place, the headlights sweeping across the containers. He stops, gets out, and just stands there, waiting. I stumble out of the shadows, my legs weak with relief. He opens his arms, and I run into them, burying my face in his chest. He holds me tightly, his hand stroking my hair. He's warm and solid and alive. "It's over," he murmurs into my hair. "Marco is dealt with. The threat is gone." We stand there for a long time, holding each other amidst the ghosts of the shipyard. The external plot is resolved. The danger is neutralized. And his words from before we left echo in my mind. "You're free." The next day, we stand in front of the charred ruins of my parents' house. Marco, in a final act of spite, had his men set the fire before he went to the shipyard. It's gone. Everything. The sagging porch, the leaky roof, the water stain on the ceiling, the ghosts of my parents' laughter. All of it is just a pile of blackened timber and ash. Tears stream down my face, silent and hot. It's the end of my childhood, the final, brutal severing of my past. Damian stands beside me, his presence a quiet, solid support. He doesn't offer empty platitudes. He just stands with me in my grief. When my tears finally subside, he turns to me. His face is somber, his eyes full of a deep, aching sadness. "I am so sorry, Alana. I never wanted this for you." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a bank card and a set of keys. The card has no limit. The keys are to a new apartment downtown, registered in your name. Everything is taken care of. You can finish nursing school. You can travel. You can build a new life, far away from all of this. He holds them out to me. My freedom, my escape, everything he promised. I look at the card and keys in his hand. Then I look at the ashes of my old life. And then I look at him. At the man who built a fortress around his heart, and who let me in. The man who was willing to walk into a trap for me. The man who looks at me now as if he's about to lose the only thing in the world that matters to him. This is my moment of choice. To take the easy way out, to run from the darkness he represents, or to run toward him. I shake my head slowly, a small, sad smile touching my lips. That house was my past, Damian, and it's gone. I take a step closer to him, my gaze never leaving his. I don't want to go back. There's nothing there for me anymore. A flicker of hope, so fragile it's almost painful, ignites in his eyes. "Alana!" I reach out and push his hand, the one holding the card and keys, gently down. "My old life is over. I don't want a new one. Not without you." I place my hand on his chest, right over his heart. I can feel it beating, strong and steady. My home isn't a place anymore. It's you. The guarded, controlled Damian Rossa shatters. The emotion that floods his face is overwhelming relief, disbelief, and a love so fierce it takes my breath away. He pulls me into his arms, crushing me against him in an embrace that is both desperate and triumphant. "I don't deserve you," he whispers, his voice thick. "Probably not," I whisper back, my tears starting again, but this time they are tears of joy. "But you're stuck with me." He pulls back just enough to look at me, his hands framing my face. "This world, my world, it's dangerous. It's dark." "I'm not afraid of the dark," I say, my voice ringing with a certainty that I feel in my very soul. "Not when you're in it with me." The original contract, the one made of necessity and fear, is rendered void. In its place, we make a new one, unspoken, sealed with a kiss that is full of promise. It's a commitment made not in a penthouse cage or in the shadow of death, but here, in the ashes of the past. He takes my hand, his fingers lacing with mine. Together, we turn our backs on the ruins. We walk away from the ghosts and the grief, not knowing what the future holds, only knowing that we will face it together. He is no longer my captor, and I am no longer his ward. He is mine, and I am his. We are not a story of a savior and a monster. We are a story of two broken people who found a way to be whole. A story of a new foundation being laid, one that we will build together, stone by stone, out of the ashes. I used to think my life would always be rain-soaked shifts, textbooks digging into my hip, and a house full of ghosts I couldn't afford to keep. I never imagined that running toward a burning car would burn away everything I thought I knew about myself. But here I am, no longer the girl who tried to outrun debt and memory, but a woman who chose to walk out of the ashes with the man she once saved. Damian Rossa isn't a headline anymore. He's not a monster I pulled from a wreck. He's the man who stood in the fire with me, who taught me that home isn't a building, it's a heartbeat. Together we've stopped surviving and started living, even if our world is darker, sharper, messier than I ever dreamed. If you've stayed with me through this story, thank you. Tell me in the comments, would you have run from him or toward him? Like this video if you felt my heart racing. Subscribe and ring the bell for the next dangerous love story. And until next time, keep your heart brave and don't be afraid to step out of the storm.